conduct. Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct. Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs face like spotless moon, colour like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Saviour having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime reality. To the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms atoms in all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp. An illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble. A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 15. The Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagawan was dwelling on Mass of Vultures Mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagawan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Sharadvatiputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no element, and so on, up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment, in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvatiputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Page 25. O sa shi fu ki chuk shek ne chok cham ri ra ling chi ni te kyen pa di san ge shing tu ni te ul wa yi zhou ku nan da xin la chu pa shu je zun la ma dam pa ke nam ki chu ku ka la kien se chin chig ne ji ta tsam pe tu che sin ma la za ke che ki cha pa ba tu so vidam guru ratna mandala kanyayatayami. Page 27.
Sanje Jadan Zaye Jadan La Janjo Bado Dani Daye Jujin Jive Sonan Je Dola Benje Zanje Dobara Sho Sanje Jadan Zaye Jadan Janjo Bado Dani Jazum Je Dagi Jujin Jive Sonan Je Dola Benje Zanje Dobara Sanje Jadan Zaye Jadan La Janjo Bado Dani Jazum Chujin Jebe Sonam Je Dola Benje Zanje Dobra Sho Congress the news of the Japan, the mission, the Gudan de la Chazella. Tony Ninjas on the Jovel, Jesus and the Country, China Memo, the Jazz. So the Lion and show, but what we made each other. Cottage Melbourne. Goes on the Jam of the so. Ah, down good long. Come, Jay, get that. Mix it in Lorik, Nangbe Lorik, Temenam Sha Changje. 아니 지기 장바디 미신라 팬도 치죠가지 지기 치되는 애들이 장기 삼바라와.
So now we'll generate a motivation. We'll do a meditation on that. So you should in particular think how fortunate you are to study this awareness and knowers, and in particular learn about these valid cognitions. So this should be done with the attitude of wishing to benefit others.
아이, 다 가와금, 다 드린 로릭 체면남샤 낭베기 다 체면남샤 정기 총아디야. 그거 야구지 진 가와금스러.
So now think, rejoice, feel very joyful, how fortunate you are to have studied this awareness and knowers and learn about the valid cognition.
Oh yeah. 다 아주 단단히 체매고 다디 낭베슝 생관리베 로당로와 셰베 로당 베게고 다 단다 딜라야 셰바딜라 디자인이 체운디 참마마인 바스 디자인이 로여와 다 단다 체매 남샤데 참마스나 칼라오라스나 아니 유페 신이 유동이 유학권이 셰바딜라 참마스고 참마 로와
Okay. So now looking at this valid cognition and how the mind, looking at how the mind works, we can say that there's two types of minds. There's prime cognizers and not prime cognizers. So prime cognizer is essentially something that knows its object, or a valid cognition is something that knows its object.
So that to this is tseme tini shadan te demenda yoro. Kisi nganzo danda dikab de da sadu milibe rigba shazonga. Sadu milibe rigba tseme tini shazonga. O dire ta. Tseme tini ro.
No. So different tenant systems have different definitions for this valid cognition or this prime cognizer. So it's in this system it's said, or the one we're looking at now, is a new incontrovertible knower.
That's the definition. Kissing Yawan on the Musum Dang Tokwa Jeva Semas Nidora. Samadilla, the Yawajik, kissing Yawajik Trosong, that Tanda and Yariyawa Shandaji Chevendu. Not Samala in the Raling and Shilling, Samaniche Resra.
Previously, we looked at divisions of a prime cognizer as being a direct or an inferential cognizer. So now we're looking at two different ones. We are looking at prime cognizers that introduce ascertainment by itself, and prime cognizers whose ascertainment is induced by others. So this is a different set of divisions.
Raling Tama, Shilling Tamas, Disney Chigdo. Yavala Raling Tamashin Pena. Hadanda de Rangishing Tamani, Denis Tini than Yawas. Shamuda.
So then, having looked at these two divisions, the first of these, the prime cognizer that induces ascertainment by itself, has its definitions and divisions. So we'll look at that.
Tadi Diri de la Sinila Tamayimba Kanshilava, Tamayimba Tango Rangi, Tamayimba Kanshi Tango, Tamayimba Kanshila, and the Rangish Dani. You think the Neomena, Rani, Mijon, Rangdo Jinga Tenuvas. Raling is a meeting, right? Tamayimba Keju Jik Rangish Dani Dirwa, you didn't know Mena, Rani, Mijon. The Sheja Toya Delaya, and Rangdop gets Samarani, Rangdop Jinga Tenuni. Tamayimba Kanshigla, who you shen de Ane Tamashin la Domagova, Tamashin la Domagova, Tamarangdogi, Tamashin la Domagova, Tamashin la Domagova, Rangdogi, Ane Genuni Tamadela, Raling, Tamas de Tini Shadwade, Ralu Nichidun Rigile, Tamayimba Kanshi, Rangishetani, you didn't know Mena, Rani Mijon, Rangdoging over Taneva, Raling, Tametini Shadwa.
So looking at the definition, there's two aspects. So the first one is a prime cognizer. And the second part of the definition is it is able to induce ascertainment through its own power with respect to its own non-arising, if the nature of its object of comprehension did not abide with the object. So essentially this means, one, that it's a prime cognizer, so that's fairly straightforward. The second is that it ascertains its object via its own power. It does not need another prime cognizer or another valid perception to induce ascertainment. It can do it under its own power or ability. So it's not reliant on another one.
ade nzo yawadi kanla sinshidi yawangado yawadi kanla madona ani tinyu tanda de ser dogresro.
So if we go through the divisions, there's 5 divisions, then going through these should make it a bit clearer.
Ranglo la ranglengi chamala yina nga shero. Tyon chena jinji ngusum, tyon komba jinji ngusum chema, ane rangre ngusum chema, nejo ngusum chema, jewa chema. Ode nga dowa.
So okay, it's listed on the next page if you're following the book. So there's 5 divisions, right? So a sense direct prime cognizer to which ability to perform a function appears, a sense direct prime cognizer having a familiar object, a self-known prime cognizer, a yogic direct prime cognizer, and an inferential prime cognizer. So these are the literal divisions of a prime cognizer that induces ascertainment by itself.
다 당보게 예와디 당보 배나 신시 샤도아 신시 당보니 매 부신색배 퇴치뉴와 진보 옹봉우섬 샤도아 매게 부신색뉴베 매 부신색뉴 색배 매 부신색배 퇴치뉴와 매 멜라뉴와 카레여라는 매게 부신색야그뉴와 대진배 옹봉우섬 저레스 어디 다 Okay,
so the ability to apprehend, an illustration of a sense direct prime cognizer to which the ability to perform its function appears is a sense direct perceiver that apprehends fire as able to perform the function of cooking and burning, or being hot and burning. So through this knowledge or this understanding of its function, then one, through seeing this hot and burning aspect, then one is able to ascertain it by its function under its own power. Right? Right, so what this means is when this person who's familiar with fire sees fire, they immediately go, okay, that's hot and burning. They can just ascertain that. They don't need any other person or consciousness or something to inform them of that. It's just they know it through seeing the fire.
먼저 콘도여로 콘도야 제운데 콘도되게 아니 셈기 시와도 뉴바데 먼저 신기도 콘도여나 아니 지금 연구 말해서 먼저 시기도 어디 란랭이 참말 도저리다.
So we can also say that when we see anger arising in our mind, we can know, okay, this is disturbing the peace of our mind. This is not, our mind's no longer peaceful when the anger's there. So this is, or not peaceful or not stable. So this is also a self-induced understanding or a prime cognizer that induces ascertainment by itself.
다 대나시 양원도 야가 출래셔는 닝제당 네 삼바상보 수신 진바당 된대 연도 네 닝제 연도 다 아니 지금 바로 삼지치도 야다 강의 총으로 돼야도 신기도 하고 그러와 닝제 연나 수술라 닝제 연나 아니 수술 스밀라야 지 동해 총으로 당도 야 누워요 시야 아니 미 신다질래 닝제 요 시행도 어디다 강에 소고 말에 미들 닝제 요래서 근데 신기도 하대 네 장도 신기도 하도 저래다 되면라 란랭이 참만 되저래다
So the same applies to loving kindness and good heart, compassion, these types of things. When we know that when we have these attitudes present in our mind, then our mind will be more peaceful and we'll have less difficulties, or we'll be able to deal with situations better, we'll be able to help others. So we can clearly understand that on our own, basically.
어디지? 다드네 된신난진지 된신난진 이번에 된 공부진으로 와. 된 공부진지 엉봉우선 참아서야돼. 라릭다 란랭이로 와. 빼는 이번에 부주지 폐수진배 엉봉우선 라봐. 부주지. 나 수수주 먼저 미직 통용데 puchitong di power di dadare koni be mig dawodo amjo dawodo dong dawodo sa singdong zero.
Okay. So this is the first one, a sense direct prime cognizer, which has the ability to perform a function appears. Second one, a sense direct prime cognizer having a familiar object is, for example, when a sense direct perceiving the continuum of a son apprehending his father's form. Yeah, the senshi karasum. 그런게
senshi 먼저 디 부구직 바와 나국당 믹다오인 디 부구디 바와디 부구를 람산 신도 보다 어디래.
Okay, this translation may not be quite correct. From Geshe-la, what he's saying is that when we see, we can recognize the features and say, oh, that person is a relative or the son of this person because of the similar features. So, di nanzo mishingi butana, kansen di gyodis chikumara.
되셔래. 네가 거셔래. 부유주지 패수zem에서는 먼저 부유주지 나랑게 바와든 데지요레스야 상당히 양아저 미신레 다네시야 네가 여셔래.
Oh, okay. So sorry, there's two possibilities. This one in the book is fine as well, but the example Geshe has given is that when you see the son of somebody and you're familiar with the father, you can go, okay, through the similarity of their features, you can go, okay, this is this person's child. So you can recognize that through the familiarity or having a familiar object.
부쿠랑게 양 바와든 데지요스 dimba 샤쇼고래 부쿠랑키랑 부디게 다 바와든 곰시 전부 이상에 내 바와데 딘데지요스 대샤쇼고래 콤바진 딱 간다 곰디 연결되는 거라서 다 디베데.
So, also a son seeing his father. The form, obviously he's very familiar with that form. So through the power of that familiarity, you can clearly recognize his father. I mean, somebody we know, we can easily recognize them.
ngaranzo 잘라지라 콤시 첨보요나 데짐베데 데레 돈 콤바진사 인지미디오라 수수주 잘라러지로 모터 페이지 망보다요나 람상하고다 얘네 락도 가와로 페이지 망보다요나 데 잘라 신다 상물로 샤투문다 람상 잘라 망보 페이지 망보 당겨데 람상 셈날 샤투고다 어디래다.
So if we're familiar with object as well, this also applies, like our car, your car very clearly, know all the inside and out, how how everything functions and all like that. Somebody else's car, or you're not so familiar with it, this power of familiarity applies to our stuff as well.
다디나시 어느도 곰레 삼당적으로 곰로와 곰 잡스디 미가시 곰 잡라디 곰 하고 메시더라. 드링 언즈데 미스틴데 투스데 최저를 미든데 레송아. 근데 강바디 가래라서 공바디 닝에 곰자서 강바래라 임바
아디 겸이
맞죠. 데 미신다든지 레슨.
오케이.
아니 콘서 게제티스 강바디 가래스 게제티스.
레레레.
강바디 곰자서 강바래서 나 곰드는 하고는 고메 곰 하고 콘서 곰 치쿠라 고녀야 말아. 나 곰다 베네 자투고 말아 하고 고메스 라고도. 다 저랑서도 미 곰망고 권여진 어디 곰자세 강벌에서는 네 곰자세 강벌 아니 다 곰자듯이 잠바 쉬어요래네 어딘데 람사하고 다데 좀 곰바진세 어디래다 거대워시나.
So there's, for example, also meditation. Some people aren't familiar with meditation, don't really know what it is. For example, someone turned up here today and they said, what's like this place here, the Gompa that we're in now? What is that place? What is this house? And, it was explained to them that this is the meditation hall. And they're like, what's this meditation? They didn't even really know the meaning of the word. And then I explained a little bit. And then they gained familiarity. There's that, so if you meditate, your mind becomes peaceful and so forth. So, this thing, meditation, is not that familiar to a lot of people.
Somebody that running was some shadow. That running was on the mission yams in your running was some Migishawa Yora. Migishawa, Yonye, Serik Yonye, the Shenye de la Shegor. The corner, the Rando Shinger, tsama shen da de tanye shen la tyo ko mar ba mi shi nyam snyo ra ri ro.
Yep. So then the third one, the knowing direct prime cognizer, is a self-knowing direct perceiver that experiences an I consciousness. So that's an example of this third one.
다드네 시와디 신리기 이시스주에 남제 더빌라다 남제에서 산제 규 첨바데 내종 무슨 라이더와다 남제 고난랑도 싱그리면서 참마신 규고에 요마르와다.
And then the fourth one is, for example, this is a yogic direct prime cognizer. For example, is an omniscient consciousness that is an other knowing mental consciousness. So it's the mind of others, all these things, but it doesn't need any assistance, right? It can understand it all under its own power.
시릭 다드네 nga와디 담에다데 베제와 담에다데 베제와디 데 란랭이 참마샤도.
And so then the fifth one, an inferential prime cognizer, is, for example, an inferential consciousness that realizes sound to be impermanent.
그래다 베나 디 제발랍데 전서 줌젤된 도고 도고사냐가 요라디 신랭이 참마차 그래서 디딘데 비키시게요 말 참마 강시 랑게 시제다니 라니 미존라 참마 신라 때마 랑도징에 버탐라라 제가 담에다데 제가 참마데 참마 임바체 담에다데 제가 참마데 줄레 제운데 코라 담에다 또 사바 인산 딜라 또 사디 신라 때고야게 말하고 이와 담에다 또 사바 인산 또고야 신라 때고야게 요 말하다 어디 시고.
So if there arises confusion, well, how is this inferential prime cognizer a self-known prime cognizer, or is a prime cognizer that induces an ascertainment by itself? Well, at the point when you've actually generated this inferential prime cognizer, realizing sound to be impermanent, at that point you've already realized sound impermanent. So that understanding is under its own, ascertained under its own power, or induced. It's self-induced ascertainment at that point. At that point, when you've had that understanding, you don't need anybody else to explain it to you or anything else to have that understanding. You've already generated it. So is that clear on this? So this sumba this senshi injik rangreg sema the indicate this sapo shiramundu this
reda ranring musum semas labende ranrik sadi kapdi rangrik sadi ngaranzo shevarba sheva de ani sheva de lada sheva shinirwa sheva to ni sema sheva koran chama koran shevarwa omo bena mishi de shevarwa mishi 먼저 미기 sheva de shevarwa sheva nyongnye ge chama de la rangrik so da 먼저 mishi nyongnye ge chama de la rangrik so rang 가르잖아 koran ge sheva koran ge koran rigba da wajire kuni sheva imba jigba 인자 sheva jigbo라 kuni mishi de shevare 미시 돈이 그라릭 데 쉐바레 인자 코란다다 쉐베 똑베 소르시 쉐베 똑베 소르시 제가 라릭 사데 직디 카요 말다 저런 랑 사데 인지민지 코란 똑고 말해 코란 다오지가 쉐베 미라릭 데 참마와 쉐바르와 그 칸도야기 유딜라 쉐바메시 샤요 말다 라릭 도야기 유딜라 쉐바메시 샤메자 라릭 사다디 고동에는 데레다.
So this self-knower, self-knowing prime cognizer, we talked about this before, but just to go over it a bit. This self-knower is a mind that knows a mind, or you could literally say a knower that knows a knower. So for example, there's this I consciousness is a consciousness, it's a mind, it's a knower. So that which experiences the I consciousness, the mind which experiences the I consciousness, is said to be a self-knower, or a self-knowing prime cognizer in this case. So the self-knower can only apprehend mind. It doesn't apprehend anything else, right? That's why it's said to be self, because It's a mind that knows a mind, or a knower that knows a knower. So it's not apprehending itself exactly, but something similar to itself. So this is why it's said to be a self-knower. Were you here for this self-knower part?
Yeah, 别小的，别人家小。别人做poverty，同你明显多，poverty 水性个多了那是吧？poverty 水性个多了的，poverty 我做 poverty 明显的性个多，通过多的。哦，poverty 俺明显性个多，俺明显我是通过多那个多的。这社会上的 poverty 啦。
Right. So if we say this cup, then we say, well, what knows this cup? Well, it's the I consciousness that apprehends the cup or knows the cup. So that's pretty straightforward, right?
다 I consciousness 코란 수신 그래 다 되래.
But who knows the I consciousness? So
다들 코란 용익이 세바지 참아지 요래서.
So the mind that experiences the I consciousness is said to be the self-knower.
다들 패진들이 다 영어 코란에 영어시로 냠용들 믹시 냠용들 영어들. 다들 라리스 민다로 메시지기. 코 용예들이 영어들 먼저.
So this experiencer, it's an experiencer that knows this.
배나 먼저 포버디 먼저 신기도 와. 다 포버시에 믹시지 여와 먼저 신기도 와. 디신이기 셔버들이다.
So according to this, it's the I consciousness knows the cup, but then it knows the I consciousness, and that's said to be the self-knower.
다 되나시 먼저 배나 제바 참말래 지과래로. 아니 미다고도 왜 제바 참말라시로. 미다고 수도 그래라나 단단한지 미다고 락방 웃음도 그러 미다고 타모디 균젠데네 미쇼 도고 말어. 미다고 타모 먼저 가득도 두고 말어. 그래서나 남산 삼노시 땅고도 아까 미다고데 가르쳐는 미다고래 라디오 다데고 깨지 요두고 이자 아니 미다고래 스페나 퍼워디 동그래 퍼워디 짜샤나 퍼 매우 차서 아니 다데고 미다고라 디 미다고라고 그래 다 퍼워던다 유기라야 퍼워 직두고래서 디 먼저 삼단 두고면도 퍼워디 단다 되기도 와디 가르쳐는 지고래서 라 되기도 아니 다디 미다고 깨지 요두고 요래스 다 딜라 저런서 데 모던 콘돔 피직 장이나 배야고요 람산싱 그래서나 퍼워디 단단한데 데 탁보시도와 이네 그 뭐에 내줄라 디낭 제도도 파주 마투버시 뉴든 탐모도 파주 마투버시 안 가도이나 구조잖아 파텐 추된 구조적 되어라다고 교도도 깨지 교도고요 어디 디시고요 다디 줌제상도 다는미다고도 제가 참아서 거다.
Okay, so when we talk about like an inferential prime cognizer, for example, this would be something that understands subtle impermanence, right? If we want to understand the subtle impermanence of a cup, we need to do it by reasoning. Think about why is this cup impermanent, and through the reasoning come to understand it. So the gross level of impermanent, okay, we can see directly, but the subtle impermanence, this we have to understand through reasoning. And, if you've studied quantum physics, then this is, the understanding can clearly come through that. So at an atomic level, there's these atoms, right? But they don't meet, they don't actually come in contact with each other. And then also their particles are moving very fast, right? Like the electrons and so forth, moving around very fast. So in this way, we can say that it's constantly changing, constantly shifting, constantly moving. So moment by moment, it's changing. So this is how you can understand this subtle impermanence. So it's only understood through reasoning, and therefore we say that the mind that understands the impermanence of the cup is an inferential prime cognizer. So then when you divide this inferential prime cognizer down, then what are the divisions of that? Oh, sorry. Sorry, then we look at, who knows this inferential prime cognizer, not the divisions of it. Who knows it? What knows it? And it's the self-knower that apprehends the inferential prime cognizer. the rangrig that knows, the self-knower that knows this.
단당한조 디 랑리 켈레니 랑리 스민 따르와 랑리 켈말레니 뭐 된주가 랑리 켈레니 시고 말와 다도 그룹다디 랑리 사야데 Quran 신세데 요 말이라고라.
요 말이라.
제가 데이터 내가 드리 요르데.
This is posited for the tenet systems that actually believe in the self-knower. For example, the Madhyamika Prasangika, they don't hold to the self-knower. They don't believe.
낭배 줍데나라 다 유나 메세 조바자야기 치시 첨보지래와. 내가 전부래.
Between the different tenet systems that held to the self-knower and those that didn't. So there's like quite extensive and important debates around that. But this is what we're talking about now, is the reasoning behind those who believe in a self-knower, their reasoning for it. So it's important to know that. Right.
신rik sayada kasana ta shevale shimbe chö ta pobadang duzu shenyi shevade la shinrik sore. Anzo mikshi de migi shevade shinrik shevade.
So when we say another knower, it's that which knows something. For example, so this eye consciousness apprehending the cup apprehends something other than the mind. So it's other knower.
어디 셔서 다드네 라링 무슨 데즈레 가서 라링에 참마디 데 스탑되오다. 다 신랭에 참마디 데스 뇽도 차고여라.
So now we've just done this inferential prime a prime cognizer that induces ascertainment by itself. Cognizer that induces another, that's a little bit more tricky.
다들 신랭에 참마